What's going on, guys? Welcome to Tech Savvy Buyer. So today what I'm going to show you guys is how you can change your switch from looking like this to this. It's pretty complicated to do, but it's not a bad project, and it is actually fun along the way. You learn a lot of things. So let's take a look at how you go ahead and do that coming up. So welcome back, folks. Now, a couple of notes before we do jump into the tutorial. One, this video is going to be painfully long. Two, you're gonna need some level of experience in dealing with ribbon cables and really tiny screws, because when you get inside the Joy-Cons, things get really super tiny, small, and if you're not comfortable with stuff, you might mess something up. So on a scale of 1 to 10, being 10, you need to be an extremely experienced person, and 1 being you need no experience at all, I would say you probably need to be around a 6 or a 7 to get this job done. It is a little bit intensive. It's definitely not the easiest jobs to do, and if you are not a person who's comfortable in risking your Joy-Cons or something getting damaged, then you're probably not going to want to do this project. It's not as simple as the PS4 do-it-yourself remap kit was. Now, I want to give you a little bit of background on this actual product. So, as you can see here, this is the actual finished product of what it looks like, and it's got a two-tone shade to it. You've got some pink and blue going on, and purplish tones as well, and the same thing on the front as well. It's actually very nice, guys. I think the quality of this thing is solid, but I'm gonna give the full review of this product right after we finish the tutorial. I just kind of wanted to show it to you guys. And another thing I want to tell you guys is the company ExtremeRate, the one that manufactures this, they actually made the do-it-yourself PS4 remap kit as well, which I made a video on. If you want to look at that, I'll post it up in the description here for you to take a look at. But they were kind enough to send me 3 extra pieces of different colors and different designs for me to give away to you guys, and which is perfect because I have a 30K giveaway going live right now in which I'm giving away this PS Vita, and I mentioned I would give away a couple of other goodies. I have some Nintendo Switch dock covers that are similar to this. Obviously this is branded with my stuff, so you won't get this one, but I've got a couple other ones that have Zelda, Pokemon, and whatnot, which I will share. If you want to see that I have a video, you guys can go check that as well. So I have a bunch of stuff that I want to give away to you guys, and this is another shell that you can use for the Vita, or sorry, for the Switch. So with that being said and out of the way, let's go ahead and begin the tutorial. Again, you guys probably want to grab something to eat, some drinks, something, because this is going to be long and painful, and hopefully you'll come out with a product that looks awesome. Alright, so here's my Switch. First thing I want to do is remove the Joy-Cons. And go ahead and flip this guy over. Alright, so we're going to remove this screw, this one, this one, this one. There's also one under the micro SD slot. We're going to take these 2 screws as well. And we're also going to do this screw up here. And that should be enough, along with the middle screw here also. So this guy here. Okay, so let's begin disassembling that. Okay, so now we want to proceed to take off the game card cover and the kickstand mechanism as well. So here's just a standard Phillips screw. You're going to remove that, and once you do, this should just come right off just like that. And then for the kickstand, this is actually a Y screw. So you're going to use the black colored screwdriver and go ahead and take that out as well. this is the bracket that you guys need to take out. So if you look at that, disconnects off of this because you're gonna have to replace it onto this guy. So it should sit basically like this. And so here we have it installed onto our new one. Okay, the next step is for us to go ahead and ready the back plate to go on to the switch. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put back the kickstand, and we're also gonna put back the game slot stand. Or not the game slot stand, but the game card thingy. Okay, the next step is to reinstall the speaker grills on this side. And we're also gonna put some foam here, 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 and here. Alright guys, so now it's time to take apart the Joy-Con. This is actually the most challenging part, but once you're able to do one, the other is easy. So in this tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to take apart one of them. In the kit you get, you'll have specific buttons that line up to the right side and specific to the left side. So if you guys can see, I already went ahead and did one for the left one, and I've gone ahead and changed it, but forewarning, this is pretty tough to do. The Joy-Con at least. The back shell was pretty simple, but the Joy-Con is gonna be hard. So pay attention to this. There's a lot of delicate stuff inside the Joy-Con controller that I want you guys to be mindful of while you're removing and taking apart pieces and cables and whatnot. So follow my instructions to the T and you guys will be perfectly fine. Hopefully you shouldn't have any issues doing this. And let's go ahead and begin. So the very first thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna flip this over. You're gonna take out these 4 screws here, which are Y-shaped screws. So you're gonna need the black screwdriver that came included in the kit and start removing those. So to take the cover off, once you've removed the 4 screws, all you gotta do is pull up with the middle part and together, and you can see there's 2 ribbon cables that open up. You want to be very careful when you do this because you don't want the ribbon cables to break. So what I would do is grab a trusty pair of tweezers like this and then just go ahead and grab them and pluck them up very gently. Don't be too rough because these ribbon cables are a nightmare. And anything I ever work with, I hate these cables the most because they have the easiest opportunity to get messed up. So just be careful when you do that, in other words. So now, once you've opened that up, you've got 3 pieces here, basically. There's a center piece here, this bracket, the outside shell. Let me show you guys here. So you've got this outside shell, you've got this center piece here, and then you've got this cover here. So these 3 pieces need to be taken apart, and then we're gonna replace that with the other one, so I'll show you each one. So first things first, what you wanna do is you wanna go ahead and start taking out these screws. There's 1 screw here, and then there's 4 screws under the actual battery. And to remove that, it's simple. So you're just gonna take your screwdriver, and work your way around the controller. To take the rumble pack out, literally just grab it, pluck it out. It's stuck with a little bit of adhesive, so you're gonna pull a little bit. Don't put too much force, put just the right amount. Comes out just like that. Again, to get under the battery, just pluck it out or pry it out basically. Try and get under it, and there you go. So putting it under like that. Now the battery is away. And on this side, we've got this part here. That's actually looks like an antenna of some sort that's connected right here. If you see this gold pin here, I'm gonna leave that in there right now because I don't need to take it out, but if I have to, I will. So here we are with this centerpiece. That different than the other one, there's no center screws around here like I thought there would be, but there are two up here that's holding this down. So we can go ahead and remove those in the meantime. Pretty much any screw that you see, just take them off. And just be gentle. This is very, very delicate stuff. It's very, very small stuff. So if you are an impatient person or you're a little bit too aggressive with working with electronics, then you're gonna end up damaging something. So my advice is be very, very gentle. So and if you got all the screws off carefully and correctly, this should come off pretty easily, but you wanna see there is one ribbon cable that I want you guys to see that's right here. This ribbon cable here. I'm going to zoom into it so you guys can see that ribbon cable. This guy. And if you pull really hard and obnoxiously, it's going to just rip off. So you want to be careful again not to do that. So in here, in this case, I can see how the angle is. And I'm going to kind of lift this up very gently, just like that. And I'm going to pull this out. All right. So here's that ribbon cable I was talking about. You want to be careful that you don't mess that up. Now that we've got this taken apart and on the side, you can go ahead and move this to the side. Be careful not to lose any of the screws, so make sure you put those aside as well. Okay, so this button just literally pops right off. You want to make sure that you keep the spring. So take the spring off and put that to the side. You can get rid of this button for now. And now we've got a couple more screws that we're going to need to take off the board. So we've got this one here, we've got this here, we have this, and that is about it from what I can see here. Okay, so now we're getting access to the stuff under the board, which are the buttons. So in this case, we can begin prying this up. Again, you always want to be careful with ribbon cables, and with these being as delicate as they are, it's kind of hard to see where ribbon cables are located. So because this has sensor here, there is an extra ribbon cable that's connected to all of this stuff, and so taking this out and transplanting is going to be a little bit more difficult than say the other stuff that we will take out on the other controller that I did. So go ahead and remove this plastic part too. Again, you got to be careful, and this is just stuck down with some good quality adhesive. And there you can see it came off just like that. Again, you want to be delicate with this stuff. Don't worry about the buttons, put those aside for now. And the only other thing I can see that's connected right now is the ribbon cable that's right here. This ribbon cable here is the only thing that's holding these two things together. Theoretically, you should just be able to pop all of this off, just like that. Make your life easy. You don't have to worry about doing anything different. So just the easiest way to do it. Just pop it off just like that. And here's the home button for it as well. Okay, we're gonna take this guy off too. We're gonna use this on our other shell. So it's just adhesive that's on there, and I don't really know what the purpose of this thing is, to be honest, but it's always good to make sure you replace things the way that they're supposed to be. And also take off this rubber cap here like this. Okay, it always is handy to have a good pair of tweezers handy because they work well. So I'm gonna gently move all of this stuff aside. And here's our body that we're going to be transplanting the new stuff into. So first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and just put this guy back in the way it was on the other guy. And usually this is the hardest thing that I struggled with on the last one too, is just to get it to line up correctly and actually stay put. Because while you put the joystick in, usually it just gets irritated by this and it just becomes a pain. So here we go. Make sure you press down on the adhesive side, which are these pointers here. Press down on them pretty firmly. And we're gonna basically just begin moving all the stuff back into this new shell. So you would start off with your buttons first. We're gonna put your buttons, and if you see the way that they're designed, it's pretty straightforward. So if you need reference for it, you can always just pick up your old one just so you know where everything goes. And since this is the right side one, we wanna make sure we have the buttons in the right spot also. So in this case, we have Y on the left, X on the top, A on the right, and B on the bottom. So we want to make sure we follow the same order when we're putting the buttons in. So let's see what we have here. It's B. So B is going to be on the bottom. We're going to put that on the bottom part. And there's only one way these can fit so that they're aligned correctly. And you can just keep wiggling them around until they sit the way that they're supposed to sit. So there we go. You can tell that that sat flush just like that. And if I look at it on this side, the B is showing pretty easily and it's right. So go ahead and repeat that for all the other buttons before we're gonna top this back onto it. Once you have all the buttons in its place for there, you're gonna go ahead and put this just like that. And these center things line up perfectly too, so make sure that they go in. And that basically just holds it down so nothing moves in the meantime. All right, don't forget your home button. Make sure you orient that the right way also. There's only one way it can go, facing the right direction. Go ahead and put that in the way it's supposed to, just like that. Now we have that included, and we're gonna go ahead and put our start button in there as well. And you can see the start button fits a very specific way, just like that. Go ahead and cover that also with its rubber grommet type grip, cap, whatever it's called, so it stays in place while you put everything together. Now we are ready to start transplanting all the other things to this area. And it should be straightforward. We're gonna try to make this as easy as possible without having a lot of issues. But if we do have issues, we will take them as we go. And don't forget to install that last cover on the home button there either. Okay, so let's start bringing that stuff back into here. Okay, and very simply, we're gonna take our board of stuff that we just brought out, and we're gonna try and do the same thing that we did while we took it off. We're gonna just try and reinstall it the same way. So, I'm gonna try and bring this closer to you guys to see, but basically you wanna make sure this plastic piece comes in where it was supposed to be, and you're gonna sit that back down where it's supposed to be, just like that. Okay, same thing with this sensor. So remember how we took the sensor off? It's really easy. You're gonna make sure you route it the correct way and put that back in where it's supposed to be. And since there was adhesive on it, you can go ahead and press down on it and it'll stay in its spot. So using smaller tools or having something that's easy to kind of go in there makes it a lot simpler of a job to do. Now, the only thing I'll warn you guys to be careful of while you're working on stuff that's this delicate is that things tend to move around while you're fixing them. Meaning, like, this cover can come off while you're placing stuff, so just be extra careful when you're putting things back together and you're paying attention to what it is that you're doing. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the board here and bring the board in. And so far, even before I put this analog stick down completely, I'm gonna go ahead and position it so it lines up correctly and doesn't damage that little thing that we had lined up for it. So, and putting the joystick, honestly guys, can be a little bit tricky at times, but once you get it, it should just fit in really flush just like that. And there we go. So now we've installed the board, we've got the joystick in, and the first thing you want to do after you get this installed in flush is just put one of the screws in so that it can at least hold this down in its place without moving and creating a problem for you. So you guys can see, I'm gonna put this joystick one where it belongs. All right, so our joystick is now in place where it's supposed to be. I might as well just throw the other screw on, and now I can at least let go of it because it's not giving as much pressure onto the buttons as it was before. Again, same thing, same drill for all the screws that go here. So far, not too bad. Pretty straightforward. Don't forget the little ones. Once you've installed the motherboard back into this shell, you can go ahead and put the top button back onto this. So in this case, the right side would have this spring would get loaded into this thing right here. So I'm gonna try and show you, but it's very delicate. It's right here. This little middle pin here is what you're gonna put this spring onto. So it goes on just like that. Oops. So that spring should sit just like that. And then that spring will then line up inside here, and you just press down, and here we go, our button's in place. It's literally that simple. Just want to make sure it sits in place. And it's gonna get more fixed when you start closing everything up, but you can see that this is starting to get in place now like that. Now that we've got this on and the button on, we can go ahead and move this aside for a second because we're gonna work on the middle part, which is this guy here. And we're gonna transfer that to here. So we want to move everything from here onto here. And so to do that, it's very simple. This button actually just comes off by prying it, but you gotta be careful because if you pry it too hard on one side, you're gonna break a clip or possibly break the plastic that it's attached to. So just gently go from one side to the other and just pry it out, just literally just like that. You don't want to be too harsh with it, remember. And look, it just came out that simply. Take the two springs with it. And now the last thing you should get rid of or take off is this one little screw there, which is a Phillips screw. So grab your orange screwdriver, go ahead and take that out. And now you should be ready to move that piece right here over to this. Okay, and we're gonna grab the same screw that we just had. Make sure it is lined up and install it back into the middle part of the shell. Next, you're going to want to take those springs and you're going to put those springs right back onto these little poles that are right on each side of the button. This is the button here. Hear that click? Easiest way, you could do this by hand. It's not too hard, and it's just easy to force it in like that. It sits in its groove. All right, now let's get our another button. Here's the other button that we're going to be using, and this obviously has a specific way to fit in. The easiest thing that you want to do is make sure that these things line up with the actual springs. You see these little tips here? I'll try and focus on the side. There you go, these little tips. Those should line up with the springs. And then once you just push it back in place, it's that simple, guys. Look, the button works perfectly fine. So we've got our middle piece ready, and now the last piece that we gotta work on is here. So just make sure you keep your area neat too. Don't be like me, move all this stuff away from there. Last one you're gonna wanna take out is this guy here. So you're gonna grab that one screw and remove that part. Or actually there's two screws here you're gonna wanna take off, but I believe when you take one of them off, you don't even need to take the other off. So let's see. Let's test that theory. You want to change out these buttons, really simple, just make sure they're oriented correctly. And then I'll show you guys how to put this back together. Okay, so I finished off fixing this piece and getting all the buttons connected to that. It was pretty straightforward, like I explained. Now what we're gonna do is combine all three pieces and make sure that we start with this, with the middle one going on top of this, and then this one closing up on top. There's three screws that we gotta replace. Those three are here. It's this one, which are these two, and then this guy down here, which goes on the bottom. This is actually the tray for the battery to sit in, and this guy's gonna stick out here on the right side like we saw before. So let's go ahead and finish this up real quick. Okay, so when connecting this, the hardest part that you're gonna have to do is actually put this ribbon cable back here into this part here. This is gonna be a little bit challenging, but we're gonna use our tweezers to give us some help to do it. And I'll show you guys if there's a technique on how you should fit this in. But the easiest way is gonna be trying to keep it facing yourself and guiding it with the tweezer to where it needs to go. All right, so we got that cable in. I'll make sure all of our buttons are in. Okay, so once you get the middle piece ribbon cable installed into the board, you're going to want to take the outer shell and attach both of those ribbon cables to their respective parts. Otherwise, closing it up is going to be a pain, so make sure you do this part before you even close the middle one in with the screws. It's going to be the right and easy way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and use my tweezer here to kind of guide this while I hold this up. This is very hard to do, and it's not delicate whatsoever. Or sorry, it's very delicate and it's not easy whatsoever. Okay, and I think I got both of the ribbon cables in and this sitting flush. Now you can go ahead and close up the middle thing with these last 3 screws. Again, just reverse order of how we opened it. And just like that, we can go ahead and begin to close this. Before you tighten in, make sure you check every button. Okay, hold it firmly, grab your wide screwdriver, and close it up. Begin closing it up. And voila, you're done. That's how you do both of the controllers. It is very tiny and can be a pain in the butt, but this is how you do both of the controllers, guys. All right, well, that was the end of the tutorial, guys. As you saw and as I shared with you earlier, that was pretty intensive. It was definitely not easy to do. There was a ton of little areas in there that you have to be super careful about. But for the most part, it wasn't terrible. So I've had worse projects before. What I would say in my experience is the Joy-Cons were absolutely the hardest thing to do just because they're super tiny and the stuff inside them are super tiny as well. But changing the back of this was so easy and so painless. So if you want to just change your switch and not do the Joy-Cons, I would say that's a good idea, and that even a beginner can do. There's only a few screws like you guys saw in the video that you have to change out for it to come off, and even the kickstand and transferring over the game card slot is simple. But I think this product, build quality wise, is absolutely stellar. They are charging $49.99 for this. You can pick it up off of Amazon. Again, if you are interested in buying this, I have links in the description below where you can pick up this specific color as well, or grab a whole bunch of different colors that they offer. But personally, I think the quality of this is really nice. It adds a different touch to your Switch that not other Switches can really say. You know, the standard colors and schemes that Nintendo typically comes out with are either based on a Mario theme or a Pokemon theme or stuff like that. You don't really find colors like this unless you saw a whole bunch of videos from other YouTubers on the Atomic Purple do-it-yourself shell kit for the Switch. This is different. This is better in my opinion. Unless you're going for a transparency look, you can do something like that as well and pick up another kit. I believe ExtremeRate does have a kit that lets you make it transparent also. But overall, for 50 bucks, guys, this is solid. This is really nice. It's got a nice shine to it. It's got nice color changing pearls inside there as well. Gives a very nice metallic look. And pretty much anywhere I put this, it's gonna catch somebody's attention. And you know, another thing is, even though you took over the same kickstand stuff, I feel like it's a little bit more durable and a little bit more solid than the original one that comes with your Switch. So it might not look like that here when I'm playing around with this like this, but it's actually a little bit less flimsy than the original Switch kickstand. Doesn't mean you can put this on a couch or a bed or anything like that and play it like that, but still nice to know. So again, guys, this is an excellent product. If you guys want to buy it, links are in the description once again. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comment section below. But that is pretty much the end of this video. I hope you found it useful. I know it was painful, I know it was long, but hopefully it was useful for you guys and you actually got it done, because It's hard to find a good tutorial. I'll also link the tutorial from ExtremeRate, the manufacturer themselves, because I actually use that to make mine. There might be a little bit more things that are clear to see in theirs than it was in mine, but nonetheless, you guys should have everything you need to go ahead and get your new shell swapped onto your Switch. But other than that, guys, that is pretty much the end of this video. I don't really have much else to say about this except it's a solid buy. Go for it. Definitely spend that 50 bucks. You're gonna have something that looks awesome. Doesn't matter if it's 50 bucks, this looks awesome. So, any questions, again, let me know in the comment section below. But if you're new to this channel or you're new to my videos, definitely hit the subscribe button. I mean, it's about time, right? You might as well subscribe to this channel because it's awesome. I'm just kidding, I'll leave it up to you. But other than that, you can go ahead and smash that like button as well. And I will see you guys on my next video. It's always a pleasure doing this stuff for you guys, and getting some free things to check out is always fun as well. So I will see you guys on my next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.